We are gathered here today mainly European Blue Funnel staff to pay homage to our Chinese colleagues. We are in Chinatown, and this is where they had their boarding houses that the Blue Funnel maintained for them. And they led a very long and honourable association with Blue Funnel around the turn of the century, 1900, the last century of course, right up to the very end of the Blue Funnel empire. Blue Funnel was probably the largest and most powerful shipping company in the world at the time, and the Chinese provided about a third of the crews. They suffered in the Russian convoys, the Malta convoys, in the Battle of the Atlantic and the Battle of the Pacific. No ship was ever held up in Liverpool for want of a crew, and the Chinese made a very great contribution to that record.
The importance of today is obviously the plaque getting unveiled to the Blue Funnel shipping, and to me I think it's a dedication to the Chinese community. And the Merchant Navy, obviously, during the Second World War, did the forgotten heroes, and without them, we would never have had the UK as it is now. Also, coming back to the convoys, that's the Russian convoys, Maltese convoys, we had Chinese seafarers on them. Blue Funnel, which is Alfred Holt's, was the biggest company at the time, and is you've got one convoy in particular with 11 ships sailing to Valletta, Malta that is. 11 of them got sunk. The only one to get through was the trialist Blue Funnel, which is represented here. That got through, but later that day that got bombed in the harbour and that as well. And my father was also on a Blue Funnel boat in the harbour at the time. And that's about it. Is the despicable governments at the time as well. After the war, they rounded up about 15,000 Chinese seafarers, and they stuck them like cattle down the hatches on ships. They were then sent back to Hong Kong and also Shanghai. Now you can imagine the conditions down these hatches. They weren't cabins, they were cargo holds. The heat and conditions down there, no air conditioning. Then when they got to Hong Kong and Shanghai, they were then quizzed by the police and thrown in jail because they deserted China. So this is what all this is about, is some form of recognition.
There's a blue plaque going up on the wall in remembrance. This is the actual building.
Is that on the wall now?
It's on the wall now.
This is the actual building of Alfred Holt's Blue Funnel Line, Asian Department. Chinatown was more or less built around this building. It was founded, mid-19th century, Alfred Holt's. Yeah. And, he had a lot of foresight, because he must have full well known that his Chinese seamen would need a community. And it was built up around this building, this entire building. And, me myself, I followed in the building in 1960 when I left school, followed my dad in. And I met these two old guys. They're much older than me. They take me on as galley boys. My generation come through, and I learned life off guys like these two.
Thank you, Moira and John, for all the work you've done to bring this about, and the ongoing work you're doing chronicling the history of Chinatown and the Chinese community in Liverpool. This is a fantastic day to be at, because we're in a sense bringing together two important parts of Liverpool history, our maritime history and the history of the Chinese community as well. It's a great plaque, and we're really proud of some ward councillors to have contributed to this. Can also extend the thanks of the City Council overall for this, and to our seafarers and the Chinese community. And I think I'm supposed to spray this all over, but let's put it in the glasses, but it's a better use than that, and help yourselves. So,
You went too long.
When Alfred Holt built this company, he had the foresight to know. Now, when I speak, I only speak for the Holofcast lads. He had the foresight to know that the Chinese community, once he settled here, they'd build, expand around it, because he knew his Chinese seamen would need a community of their own. And that Chinese community has excelled to what it is today. People come here now from all around the world, they eat here. But what people aren't aware of is Other shipping companies use Liverpool, and other Chinese seamen, and Malaysian seamen, Philippine, they come to this area. When I was a kid, that was the old Shanghai restaurant. We used to sit on the backyard wall while they killed ducks, baby pigs, everything. We cleaned the yard and get our mouth. But now, the way Chinatown is going, it's an asset to the city of Merseyside. It's, you know, people like this gentleman here, Mr. Roger, who knows a lot about the council, and Mr. Mumby, I mean, they know the history of what that's done to this city. He knew, like Alfred Holtz, that this will go on and on and on. If you go to New York, Vancouver, any major city, you'll see the Chinatown. We have got the oldest Chinatown in Europe. Ships still come here, bring seamen from all over the world, Chinese seamen, Asian seamen. And what a lot of people don't realise, in the 70s and 80s, the RFA ships were amongst them, the fleet auxiliaries like the Tristram, and the Bedivere, and the Sigalahad. Now they all had Chinese seamen on them. They were caterers, they were cooks, stewards, they were laundrymen, and them Chinese seamen probably used this place to eat as well. And some of them now are resting in the Falkland Islands alongside our soldiers. So they've done their bit. This gentleman here, a legend, Mr. Shinzei Wu, he would tell you when we were fighting with great respect to the Blue Funnel seamen there, we were never on the same wages. Injustice was just staggering. Snatched off the street while we'd married Liverpool girls and families, you know, gone missing. I'm lucky, I managed to keep my dad. I don't know whether he knew something I didn't know. He was ducking and diving and got out the way when the immigration people come, I don't know. But, you know, he was always away at sea. A lot of you off-gas girls around here, you know what I'm talking about, you know. We've lost a lot of our own now. Like I say, I'm only speaking for the second generation. Now there's third and there's fourth generation. When I left the Blue Funnel, I tried to join the Royal Navy and I was told I couldn't because my dad wasn't nationalised British. I've got a son now, he's just done 12 years as a Royal Marine. He's a police officer now in Yorkshire. I've got a son who's a police officer in the Met. I've got a son who's a businessman, a daughter who's a... I've been so lucky with my kids, the third, fourth generations. They're getting accepted because we're enlightened now. But what that table went through and what we went through, and Tony and Gamo won't come in, it just wasn't right, it wasn't right. But we're here now, we're still here, still standing, and we've got our plaque on our wall, and that's all there is to it. Yeah.